Hey everyone, it's Hayes, and in today's video, for the final time, we are here to react to your Unpopular Miraculous Ladybug opinions. This is the last part, because there was so many, honestly I got so many comments under that post, it took me forever to go through them all. But anyway, this is the last part, we're going to get the rest of them done today. As always, I'm just expressing my opinion on your opinion. Feel free to disagree with me as long as you do it in a nice, respectful way, which is the way I'm going to be responding to these opinions. And second of all, I have taken the time to crop out everyone's name and profile picture. However, if you get so mad about an opinion in this video that someone makes that you feel the need to go back to that community post and scroll through all of those comments to find them and have a go at them, then that probably says more about you than it does about them. So maybe don't do that. Thank you. And also, before we start, I have an important announcement to make, in that finally I have found Plague. If you didn't know, I have the Cat Noir vinyl figure. I've had him for ages and he comes with a Plague. However, due to his whiskers and also his tail, my cats were very easily able to pick him up. And literally with them being in the house within 3 weeks, they took him and they ran off with him. And I've finally been able to find him. He has a couple of scratches on his head from being played with by the cat so much where I couldn't get to him. But he is finally back now in his rightful home, so I will take good care of him and make sure the cats don't get him again. Anyway, let's just get straight into this. So the first opinion we have is Cat Noir still is as much or even more of a creep than Marinette, but this fandom will always find excuses for him. I don't. I think it's creepy, especially I think the worst episode for me, Glaciator 2. Joe when so it's more so at the start of the episode. So they've been like nominated for an award was it Best Kiss or something, which is the most random thing ever. Okay, whatever. Alright. And he's like, oh, we should do it again and go on a date, and she has to end up putting him in the bin because she keeps saying no and he doesn't listen to her. I think that's probably, at least coming to memory at the minute, one of the worst Cat Noir moments in terms of him, I was about to say flirting with Ladybug, but honestly at that moment it's kind of more flirting at Ladybug because she is so angry she is definitely not reciprocal to his advances, because sometimes she does flirt back, but in that episode she was just like, no, absolutely not, get away from me. So no, I absolutely agree, he can absolutely be a massive creep. Is this an unpopular opinion? Don't other people think he's creepy from time to time? Not always, of course, but like the same way Marinette wasn't always creepy around Adrian, she could act like a normal person, like in Risk. But like, I thought this was like a universal thought in this fandom. See, this is what happens when you don't interact with the fandom very much. Like, unless you comment on my videos and I reply to you, or someone directly like talks to me on Twitter, I'm probably not, I don't usually end up finding out like the issues that are currently going on. Like for example, it's going to be a week or two between me filming this and you seeing this, but yesterday was my video where I got blocked by Thomas Astruck. That was a video that went up yesterday from when I'm filming this, and honestly I was really worried that it was going to get a lot of pushback, so I really wasn't sure, to be honest, what the fandom's kind of current opinion about him was. And the week before that I posted a short, it was using the one of a couple of the lines from We Don't Talk About Bruno, about people not understanding and stuff, and I got a bit of backlash where people were just like, oh my god, you expected a creator to agree with your theory? How entitled do you have to be? And I'm like, Chloe being abused isn't a theory, you can see it the same way it's never like said outright that what Gabriel's doing to Adrian is child abuse, but like you will know because you have eyes and a brain, you know what I mean? Like I didn't realise Chloe being abused was a theory, since I thought we all knew. Because we're all watching the same show anyway. So because I don't interact loads with the fandom online unless it's my own comment section, I'm never really sure what the reception of something I might say is gonna be, because I just don't know what the general kind of consensus around the issue is. So the next one is two opinions. So here we have, I recently rewatched season 5, it's on BBC iPlayer, and after Deflagration I found myself more and more unexcited to watch the episodes despite knowing how the season ends. Like I was dreading watching Revolution, Collusion, Emotion, Representation, Derision, because I knew what would happen. I was ready to cringe or get very sad. Basically what I'm saying is season 5 has such little replay value as a whole season, and the second opinion is season 2 and season 4 are the best seasons. completely agree with both these opinions. We'll go with the shorter one first. Season 2 and Season 4, absolute bangers. They are so good all the way through. Love them so much. 3 and 5 are definitely the worst seasons so far. Obviously Season 6 hasn't finished airing yet. And at the minute I really enjoyed about half of it and really not liked the other half. Really didn't like Thematic Queen, Illustrator and Sublimation very much. All the other episodes I really enjoyed though. So I'm hoping for good things as long as they follow like the other kinds of episodes that have been really good this season. But yeah, Season 2 and Season 4 absolutely have the best execution. They are so good. I won't go into exactly why they're the best seasons. We won't have time for that, but yes, I agree with that. And again, I agree with Season 5. I definitely think the strongest part of Season 5 is the first half of Season 5. That's definitely the strongest, but after that it has a lot of the same tone all the way through. Why, don't get me wrong, like I get it that things are a lot more serious in Season 5. However, the tone does shift a significant amount for different episodes to keep the momentum and to keep the pace going. Whereas Season 5, after what happens in Deflagration, it's just depressing all the way through, and it's so difficult to watch because there's no tone shift. It just gets worse and worse and worse, and it's just, like, honestly, the only episode I really like in the second half of Season 5 I'd say is Pretension. I think Pretension is a solid episode, but when you frame it with the rest of the episodes, if you watch them in order, no. Like for my timeline video, I think that was the last time I rewatched all of Season 5. I actually rewatched the whole show to get all the information for the timeline video. I couldn't just do it like look on the wiki and read it, because characters do say certain things that reference the days and stuff. So for example, it's like, oh well, it's Saturday tomorrow, oh we don't have school tomorrow, oh I'll see you tomorrow, and then you see them together tomorrow. So I really had to go back and rewatch the whole season. Season 5 by far was my least favourite to rewatch to get all of the time clues. So yeah, absolutely agree. No, it's not good. Season 5, it's not a good season. Hate it. Next one! I hate that Adrian is senti. Oh, interesting. It feels like it was not planned out from the start to me. Maybe it was, but I feel like they could have put hints in earlier or revealed it to the audience before revealing it to Marinette. Partially agree. So, I don't mind him being senti. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I'm kind of like, oh, whatever. I think it just adds some extra conflict, which I quite like. I'm going to be excited to see what it's like when he eventually finds out, because I'm assuming one day he will. Like, Felix seems to have known he was a senti for a while. Kagami doesn't seem to have known. So in Emotion, I'm pretty sure she doesn't know. That's episode 18, but then Pretension, episode 19. It seems she does know. She seems to understand the importance of the rings by the end of the episode. Maybe not at the start, but by the end of it, because she gives the ring to Felix and then he gives her a fake that her mum takes. So it seems she understands at the end, but we never get to see her reaction to it. So I feel like Kagami definitely knows, because in Representation it's kind of confirmed, where towards the end of the play Felix is like, and then the miraculous boy met a miraculous girl, which I'm assuming they mean miraculous here as in senti, rather than someone who has used a miraculous. So I definitely think Kagami knows, but we never really got to see her reaction to it. We didn't even really get to see Felix tell her, to be honest. To me it's just implied that she knows. So I am excited to see what his reaction will be when he hopefully one day finds out, please. But I definitely think there was hints in Season 1. When I say hints, I mean hint. The only hint in Season 1 is the portrait of Emily, which is, if I can remember the name, it's inspired by, I think the artist is called Klimt. It's spelled K-L-I-M-T, and it was a portrait of, I think she was called Adele Bloch-Boyer, who is basically, she was a very rich lady, she wanted children, she could not conceive. Which seems to be what's going on with Emily. I am assuming she was the one unable to conceive, since Emily was unable to as well. Of course, sometimes it could be both people who have trouble conceiving, as in the two people in the relationship. But since it seems that Emily was also experiencing the same thing, that the difficulty lied with Emily and Emily rather than Gabriel and Colt, unless they also had issues as well, I don't know, the difficulties as well. It's never really talked about much about why exactly they couldn't have a baby biologically, and they had to, well, I don't know, with all this money, couldn't just have a baby by IVF, you know. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand with IVF it's not always viable straight away, like you can do it 5 times and it might not work. I get that completely, and I guess making a senti child is basically guaranteed first time. The same way if you try to get pregnant the natural way, again, you may try for years and years and years and it may not work until eventually it does. You know, like, it's not like a surefire method, and I guess using the Peacock Miraculous is. But that portrait is in season 1, I'm pretty sure. It is in season 1, right? She says after just telling everyone that she rewatched the whole show for the timeline video. To be fair, the timeline video was a while ago now. Is it in season 1? It's been a while since I've watched any season 1 episodes. Surely it was. You know, I don't know, maybe I'm lying. Okay, let's just assume the portrait was in season 1. And if it was, that was the hint. Although I will give it to you, it's not a very good hint. So yes, I do agree that there could have been more hints going on, but also at the same time, there's no Peacock Miraculous until the end of season 2, so yeah, I definitely think it could have been done earlier, but it definitely seems like that was maybe the intention, I would argue. It just seems a thing from season 1. I do believe when the show was first commissioned, they were only given a season. And then by the time it ended and it was quite popular, they were like, okay, let's give it 2 more, and then I think it was 2 more, and then 50 more, which is where we're at now. We're in the 50 more kind of range. But yeah, I definitely feel like it could have been done a lot better. And revealed it to the audience before revealing it to Marinette. So this is the thing before I was talking about Chloe. I feel they have revealed it to the audience. There were so many hints about it, like in Mega Leech with the Twisty Twist ring, again in Pretension, where Gabriel sends Adrian up to his room and he physically can't leave even though he wants to, but he can't. Stuff like that. You could argue it definitely could have been more overt because there was still a lot of division in the fandom, even right at the end of season 5, if Adrian was or wasn't a senti-monster. Like, I remember, again, this is kind of going back to not having much interaction with the fandom unless it happens in my comment section. I remember the first video I made about Adrian being a senti-monster, and whilst I was kind of like on the fence, I was like, because when was this, like during like start of season 4 I think, I wasn't sure, and I was like, I think he could be, but I think possibly he might not be at the same time. And I made the video, and it probably wasn't the best video in the world, but I made it and I put it up and thinking, it's just a video, it's fine. People will comment like normal, it'll be fine. But I got, not backlash I suppose, but quite a few comments that were like, please don't talk about Adrian being a senti-monster. A lot of people get really upset about it, and I was just like really confused, and I was like, why? To this day I still don't really get it. But I definitely think they could have revealed it to the audience. Like, for example, even in El Toro de Piedra, I'm pretty sure the letter ends with them saying like, you're also a senti-monster, but then they cut it off there before he actually gets to that. So yeah, I definitely think it could have been done better, but I don't hate that Adrian is a senti-monster. I don't really care. Honestly. Next one. I'm no longer excited for the reveal or the fake outs, just how long it has been has ruined it. I don't know how I feel about this. Part of the reason, like the main reason I watched the show is for the romance, which has definitely gotten better. In season 5 it really wasn't good. It was, the confessions in Transmission were great, loved in Transmission, their relationship in Deflagration was super cute, but after that they kind of became like Ladrian to me, which is basically the reason I don't like Ladrian, was because Adrian and Marinette would just like, well obviously Ladybug and Adrian would just stare at each other and be like, oh my god, you're perfect, no you're perfect. It was annoying, which kind of how like the latter half of season 5 became with Adrianette. However, the Adrianette dynamic is much better. This season they are more like friends who are in love with each other rather than just people who are in love with each other and don't know each other very well, which is kind of what it felt like in season 5. So one reason I like the show so much, like back when, like before I made videos, was due to the romance and will they won't they sort of thing, but then also it was the anticipation for the reveal. But I definitely get what you're saying with all the fake outs and stuff. I totally get it. Cat Blank, Oblivio, Ephemeral, I understand completely. Although I'm still looking forward to it, I just hope they kind of change trajectory a little bit, because what I'm hoping for, which sounds like a weird thing to hope for by the way, but I'm still hoping for it. I like dramas, this is why I'm hoping for it, is that they kind of have a massive falling out, and in the midst of this falling out, Adrian and Marinette are still together, but Ladybug and Cat Noir are completely diametrically opposed. They are no longer like on speaking terms, it's like a civil war between them. They end up, at least Adrian finds out that Marinette is Ladybug, and he is like so conflicted. It's like, I'm in love with Marinette, but I hate Ladybug for what she's done because keeping this from my father, what do I do sort of thing. I think that would be so interesting to do, and kind of, I think, over the reveal being something really sweet and lovely. And I definitely think they'll get back to that place again if we have this kind of civil war thing going on, which I want to make a theory video about. But I I'm kind of over it being nice. Like, we got that in the movie and it was lovely. I loved the reveal of the movie. I thought it was perfect. But I'm kind of over that, the reveal in that way. I kind of want it to be a bit more emotionally conflicting and basically for them to be arguing about it. Next one. Literally, Sabrina and Ivan did not deserve to be miraculous wielders. Oh, I see where you're coming from. I think the problem with this lies is that, first of all, Ivan's debut episode, Penalty, I think it wasn't very good for debuting the new holders. To me, and I'm not just saying this because Mark is my favourite character, but to me that episode definitely seemed like it was meant to be Mark's episode, because he comes in, first of all, he's not in their class, he just shows up because he likes football, he's trying to force Nathaniel to play, and the whole, like, a lot of the episode does focus on him and confidence, which you kind of need to be the Rooster miraculous wielder. So I feel like the episode was definitely skewed in his favour. I'm not just saying that because I love him. I definitely feel like the episode was for him. But as a result of everyone else having to also get the miraculous, so it's more devastating when Formidable and Shadow Daddy takes them at the end of season 4, they kind of rushed in and just pushed in the dog, the ox, and the goat at the same time. It definitely felt like it was just too heavy of an episode for introducing all these miraculous at once. Like earlier in the season with the pig, tiger, and well, we already had the mouse miraculous, but you know, with getting a new holder for the mouse miraculous, those episodes were done great in terms of introducing a miraculous, but Penalty was not. It genuinely feels like they kind of just forgot. Like, for example, we didn't need the episode Simple Man. You could have put one of them in there. We didn't need that one. I do quite like Glaciator too, but again, you could have put one of them in there, you know what I mean? They could have been put in other places so they got their own time to shine. And I think another problem as well is that Ivan, apart from really in Origins and Horrificator, he doesn't really get a great deal of screen time, to be honest. So I think possibly part of the reason you're saying he didn't deserve to be a miraculous holder is the fact that he hasn't really been that well established as a character. Like Rose and Julika and Milan, we hear, and like Alex, we hear quite a lot from them, like a lot of the time, because they're like Marinette's closest friends. But Ivan, not really. He doesn't have a lot to contribute to in the show because he's quite a quiet character. So I think that's the problem with Ivan, although I think El Toro de Piedra, I put this post up before the episode aired, was amazing. As for Sabrina, completely agree. Daddy Cop was amazing, don't get me wrong, great episode for her, but when she received it in Penalty, she was still with Chloe, and whilst I understand everything with Chloe and Sabrina was being manipulated too, I get it, but at the same time she wasn't a good person, and Marinette's whole thing is about giving miraculous to the people who deserve it. If we're going with that logic, no, Sabrina didn't deserve it. So, agree with Sabrina, disagree with Ivan, but I understand why you're saying that. Next one. Unpopular opinion, Lila is the best character in Miraculous. I'm assuming by them saying best is that she's the most interesting and the most well written. With that, I disagree. I think the best character in terms of writing is actually Natalie. But I definitely think Lila is absolutely up there. She's so interesting, she's so compelling. No idea why she's doing what she's doing. So I definitely don't think she's the best character, so I disagree, but I definitely think she is one of the best characters. Although if you meant best character as in like, she is objectively your favourite. I mean, if you want it to be. My favourite's Mark. Lila doesn't even break my top 10, but okay. I think from a writer standpoint, she's incredibly interesting. Although that view might change depending what her motivation is for doing what she's doing. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, well, she's doing this because she hates Marinette so much. In my opinion, that is absolutely not a good enough reason. All of this for that? No. Go and have some soup, then have a bath, and have a lie down if you hate someone that much. You know what I mean? And plus as well, Gabriel's motivation was just so solid, it was so good. So I'm like, Lila, it's gonna have to be the same or better if you want to top him, so. Yeah, next one. I did not care for Love Square that much, and I did not like how season 5 put focus on it when Monarch had all the Miraculouses. And I hate how they give up the Miraculous in Kwami's choice just for their love life. Partially agree. I did mention once or twice in my season 5 commentaries I wanted to know, because even though I watched the show for Love Square, I know not everybody else does, although I did remember once getting into an argument with someone in my comment section. They were like, the show isn't about romance, and I was like, well it is, I mean not completely, but like it has a big focus on it. They're like, it has no focus on it. And I'm like, are we watching the same show? Like, I do genuinely think sometimes that we are all in one universe, but there are actually 2 versions of the show that exist. And me and most people who watch my videos are watching one, and then everyone else is watching the other. And they all generally have the same plots, but different things does happen. And that's why there's so much conflict, including with Thomas Astro, because he's watching the other one. And in that one, Chloe isn't abused, apparently. That's genuinely what it feels like. So I was so confused. This person was like, there's no romance in the show. And I was like, okay. But I did wonder in season 5, because there definitely was more of a focus on romance in that one, and Marinette and Adrian's relationship, I did wonder, like, how are people enjoying season 5 if they don't watch it for the Love Square? So if you don't really care for romance, I definitely understand why you may not have enjoyed season 5 that much. I'm here for the romance, and I still didn't enjoy season 5, so I'm completely with you. But I definitely agree. Well, okay, what I wanted to happen in Kwami's Choice, and I basically want to rewrite it, but I just don't know how I would present it as a video yet, I'm still working on that, is what I really wanted to happen was for them to give up their miraculous, but then for Adrian to be akumatized properly, and they wouldn't have to go back and erase time. And like the Akuma would be him like getting mad at people because Marinette didn't love him. I haven't finished the idea. And then Alia and Zoe, the new holders, would have to go and find Marinette, and Marinette would have to be brave and finally confess her feelings for Adrian. It would be so cute, and he'd de-akumatize himself, and it'd just be adorable. And because like that's the only time Marinette or Adrian can be akumatized, and there would be no like world-ending consequences, you know what I mean? So that's what I would really have liked to happen. But to be fair to them, Marinette and Adrian didn't give up their miraculouses of their own free will. Tiki and Plague did make them. I guess you could argue Tiki and Plague are this big and they could have just thrown them out the window if you wanted. But I do see where you're coming from, just for their love life. Like, you gotta save the city. It's like, maybe not today, I want to go out with this boy. Come on, Marinette. She's also a child. But come on, Marinette. You make more sensible decisions than this. Next one. We need more episodes focusing on the Kwamis and the villains. Marinette gets too boring after a while. I agree, which is why I've been really enjoying some episodes of season 6. For example, El Toro de Piedra has a big focus on Ivan, Daddy Cop big focus on Sabrina, Papa's a bigger focus on Adrian. Marinette is still there. Marinette is always going to be there. She's the main character. I love her dearly, but I'm glad when we take a break from her sometimes. You know, I love her, but there are 26 episodes a season, Marinette. Sit down. Let someone else do it. And I feel like a lot of the time in videos as well, when I say something like that about a character, a lot of people are like, well, it's not her fault. She was written like that. And I'm like, yeah, I know she was written like that. She's not real. Why would I ever think it's her fault? God. The next one. So I think season 5 was way better than people give it credit for. I refuse to elaborate. I think season 5 was terrible. I refuse to elaborate. Next. Cat Noir would have made for a better main protagonist than Ladybug, given that he is the one with the main villain father, meaning his story would carry more emotional weight. Yes and no. I think for the target audience of Miraculous, which is 8 to 10 years old, that Marinette is perfect for the lead. If Adrian had been the lead, I think it would be a lot more emotionally harrowing, which, don't get me wrong, the show has become more emotional as things have gone on. For example, if you compare the end of season 1, which was Volpina, to the end of season 4. But between those 2 episodes there was a huge shift of feelings and emotions that were explored, like Marinette, Little Ladybug, whatever, is having a panic attack in Adrian's bathroom. That would never have happened in Volpina. So it definitely has got more emotional, more serious as the show has gone on, but it is still appropriate for that 8 to 10 target audience, especially as they are growing up with the show as well. And whilst I love the idea of Adrian being the main character because his dad is the villain, that would be so interesting to explore if we got to spend more time with him, and I would still love more Adrian-centric episodes. It would immediately bump the target audience up quite a bit more, because if you're spending all this time with Adrian, you'd see how much he is actually being abused by his father. I'm sure there are loads of instances we don't know about that would have happened, because that's how child abuse works. It would have immediately bumped the target audience up. So I'm not saying the show would have been bad with Adrian as the lead, but I don't think it's bad with Marinette either. It's just for the target audience. So I would have liked to have seen it, but it would have been too much for for the target audience. Next one. Miraculous has some of the coolest lore of any animated show, but it's just not used to its full potential. Relegating a lot of the world building to specials really hinders the show, and Felix needs to face some consequences for keeping Gabriel's identity a secret for so long and then selling the Kwamis into slavery. Agree and agree. So let's tackle the Felix one first. I just think overall Felix needs to face some consequences. He's done a lot of not so great stuff, and he just gets away with it. He hasn't really faced any consequences. The only real consequence, and so it's not really a consequence, is him crying on the roof of a building after having to destroy Red Moon in Emotion. That's it. And then he directly contradicts that in representation, because he's talking, like, he gets so upset about having to destroy Red Moon, and when he's in the sewers with Kagami in pretension, she's like, okay, you just make a senti-monster to get us out of here, to save us or whatever, and he's like, no. They deserve to be nurtured and cared for, which is seemingly the reason he gets so upset in Emotion. But then in representation, they create Once Upon a Time, the projector, for their weird play, and then we see the feather at the end, so they destroyed it. So I'm like, couldn't they just get an actual projector? I just think in general, for everything he's done, Felix does need to face some consequences. I'm hoping this season, since the Miraculous holders seem to be getting like an episode, that for whichever of those episodes belongs to Felix, because I'm really not sure, we have a deeper discussion about that, because if I was Marinette, I'd be like, can I trust him? Can I really trust him? You know what I mean? Like, he first of all betrayed her trust to give Gabriel the Miraculous, and then he also betrayed Gabriel's trust to cross back over. And whilst it definitely seems in that second betrayal he understood the error of what he'd done, if I was Marinette and like, well, he's done it to me before and he's done it to Gabriel before, who's to say he's not going to do it again? She has no evidence for that, you know what I mean? There's no trust there. So I do think he needs some consequences. Whether he'll get them though, don't know. And then the first one, around the lore, whilst I like that it's being used for the specials, I also wish we got more of it in the show. It just kind of like happens. Like for example in the Reverse special, Tiki is like, oh yeah, parallel universes exist. Tiki, I understand you're like a mini god, but if parallel universes exist, no one actually knows about them, because you know that's not how they work. If like parallel universes exist, if there's like other versions of me, whether it's 5 or 20 or whatever, I wouldn't ever know about it. So that's how they work. So yeah, so not only is the lore usually reserved for specials, it's usually really weird. Like, I really love some of the lore we find out about, but also it's a little bit confusing, because in the New York special they have like a whole city full of heroes. In the Shanghai special we also have Lady Dragon, and they don't, well, they did come to help finally in Confirmation and Recreation, but I was like, why have you waited this long? This has been going on for a whole year. That's how long the first 5 seasons are set over, a whole year, from September to August. And no one else has come to help in that whole time? You could argue, well, Ladybug didn't ask for help. No, she didn't, but she also didn't ask for help in the finale of season 5, but came anyway, so yeah. Don't get me wrong, I was about to say I really love the specials. I love the New York and the Shanghai. Hated Reverse and London, which wasn't London because they only showed shots of London twice and both of them were incorrect. But yeah, completely agree with both. I don't think season 4 was all that great. Most of the good conflict it created was completely forgotten and left unresolved. Agree. Cat Noir never confronted Ladybug about other things he found out, like the fact Nino and Alia knew their secret identities. Season 4 also kind of has Ladybug tell Cat Noir she revealed her identity. It's totally ignored. Agree. I say kind of because it was so ambiguous someone had to confirm that Cat Noir wasn't paying attention. Kuroneko is the greatest failure at addressing a conflict in the history of cartoons. Agree, agree, agree. Probably my least favourite thing about season 4. When I say season 4 is one of the best seasons, I certainly don't mean it was perfect. Better than season 5, but to be fair, the bar for season 5 is in hell, so unsurprising. Like back then, so season 4 was the first season I was making videos. I was really expecting, like after Hacksaw, I was like, Cat Noir needs to know. You know what I mean? Like the ending, I was like, didn't it? Like I was so confused. Like you probably go back and watch my commentary video and all the videos I made afterwards. It's like, did Ladybug tell him in the end? Because I'm still not sure if he knew. I still don't know. And then I really enjoyed the build-up to them slowly falling apart. So it kind of starts from Optigami, where he struggles to get out of the lift or whatever, then he has to transform and run all the way back to Montparnasse Tower. But when he arrives, all the gold comes off and he's like, oh, they did it without me. In Senti-Bubbler, Rena Rouge is like, it's a two-person job between me and Ladybug and not you. And he gets so mad he destroys that chimney. There's more instances of it building up. And I was like, okay, I am ready. By the time we get to Kuroneko, it means Black Cat, this is going to be the Adrian episodes where he finally goes for it. And in the trailers that we got for it from Gloob, you can see Cat Noir being betrayed, that Ladybug's basically ignoring him in favour of their other heroes, and he rescinds his Miraculous about it. However, when Marinette talks to Plag about why Cat Noir did this, Plag is just like, oh, well, it's because he's in love with you and you didn't return his feelings. Plag, that was not the reason. It was because she was ignoring him and favouring all these other heroes. That's why we have that scene at the start of Risk where she's like, oh, you're still my favourite hero, Kitty, and she kisses him on the cheek. That's why we have that scene. But it was just all thrown out the way. It's the thing from season 4 that annoys me the most. It was all completely thrown out the window by Plag saying that and it being about romance when it was never about romance. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure Adrian was sad about it, that Ladybug never returned his feelings, but it was never about that. He was concerned about being ignored, about being sidelined, only for then Plag to turn around and be like, no, it was about romance. No, it was not, Plag. I agree. There's a thing from season 4 that annoys me the most. I thought it was built up perfectly, but then they just ruined it in Kuroneko. So completely agree. It's the thing about season 4 that annoyed me the most. I disagree that it wasn't great though. It's still a great season. Just this bit wasn't great. Next one. Unpopular opinions. Ladrian is the best ship. Felix is the only smart one. Felix fixed Miraculous. Ways sucks. I think I disagree with all of them. First of all, I don't dislike any of the Kwamis. My favourite by far is Kalki, but I love the rest of them. Why would you not like Ways? What's Ways ever done to you? Ladrian, I already said before, they just stare at each other and smile and think the other person is perfect. Whilst I understand from seasons 1 to 4 that was the best ship for them because they were in love with each other in those identities, it absolutely would not have been healthy. No. And then Felix. The problem with Felix, and I've said this before and it's going to sound strange, so give me a minute to explain, is that they only use Felix to advance the plot. They bring him in to do something plot related and then he leaves, when that job really should belong to Marinette, Adrian, or even Alia. I'd take any of those three doing it, okay? It should not be Felix, who is hardly ever in the show. He's been in what so far? So he's been in Felix, Daddy Agrest, Risk, Strike Back. He was in the end of Multiplication, but he wasn't in Paris. Emotion, Pretension, Representation, and then right at the end of Recreation. And then he was in that one scene that was at the start of Revelator from season 6. So he's been in 10 episodes with varying contributions in those. For example, in Strike Back, he literally does nothing. Also, why wasn't he there for the finale? I know Thomas was like, oh, it's because he doesn't get involved in human business. Well, he was getting involved in quite a bit of human business in the previous season, so I don't really know what that's about, mate. But like, to me, Felix is just a plot device. They bring him in to move the plot forward, and then he leaves. Felix is not a character. So is he very clever? Yes. But like in an OP kind of clever way, not like in an actually clever way like Max's. Max's intelligence or Alia's intelligence is never used in an OP way, but Felix's is. And it's not good writing. And then finally, this is the last opinions. Miraculous will be better with less seasons as the story is only suitable for less seasons. Interesting. There are double standards between Felix and Marinette. What I mean by that is when Marinette stalks or does something creepy towards Adrian, she gets hated for it, while Felix is the same thing, he gets loved by the fandom. To me, Felix has done much worse things than any of the characters apart from Gabriel and Tomoe, probably. Let's address the first one. Less seasons. I think it's hard to say without knowing what the rest of the story is going to be. So I'm not sure, so it's a maybe, basically, because I don't know. As we all know, season 1 really didn't contribute much plot-wise, but with the way the show was commissioned, they weren't allowed to do that, so it's not really the fault of the writers or anything. So possibly would have been better with less seasons. I think that all really would have relied on how season 1 was commissioned. If it had been commissioned differently, we would have got less, I think. But so I'm unsure because I don't know what the rest of the story is going to be, so I don't really feel like I can answer that one. But then the second one, absolutely agree. A lot of people, like, they just love Felix, and I think they like him because he moves the plot forward, which I think is fine, but like I said, he's not a character, he's a plot device. And a lot of people just love him. A lot of people quite rightly hated him after his debut. And I remember Thomas Astruc being on Twitter after his second appearance, which was in Daddy Agrest, being like, oh, do we like Felix now? And I was like, no! I don't. Still. Why would I? But yeah, he is creepy. Plus as well, I feel like there's an extra level. I'm not saying Marinette's not creepy, but there's an extra level with Felix now he's dating Kagami because she's a senti-monster. I know Kagami has her own amok, so she is in control of herself, but Felix could snap her out of existence. You know what I mean? That is a really unhealthy relationship dynamic to have. Don't get me wrong, Marinette should tell Adrian that he's senti. He absolutely needs to know, because him going around walking through life without knowing, and he has in possession these 2 twin rings, and he doesn't understand how important they are to his very existence. He needs to know. And I hate the fact that Marinette's keeping it from him, as well as Natalie. I hate it. But with Felix, there's an added layer, because he has the Peacock Miraculous. So if Kagami does something he doesn't like, he could just snap it. What if one day in 6 months Kagami's like, I don't really have feelings for him anymore, I want to end this relationship, but she can't, because what if, like if I was Kagami, I was like, I want to end things with Felix, but I can't, because what if I break up with him and then he snaps me out of existence for it? You know what I mean? That's a really unhealthy dynamic to have. To be honest, I don't mind the idea of senti-monsters dating each other. However, I don't think you should be dating one that has the Peacock Miraculous. No. Don't do it. I think if you're a senti-monster with a Peacock Miraculous, you should date someone who isn't senti. Just so there isn't that conflict. You know what I mean? The same way I would hope Marinette never gets possession of Adrian's amok unless to keep it safe for him, so she can't use it against him, as in like use it to control him. You know what I mean? Like, God. Felix has done much worse things than any of the characters apart from Gabriel and Tomoe. Yeah, agree. Like I said before, the other opinion, he needs to face some consequences. So that was it, besties. That is all of the unpopular opinions replied to. There was a lot of great stuff. Of course, I'd love to know what you thought about those people's opinions, my responses to those opinions. If you have your own opinion that differs from theirs and differs from mine, that's totally fine, as long as you're respectful about it in the comments. I don't care what you're gonna say. It's great. Basically, the rule of thumb is if you start typing and it basically sounds like something Thomas Astrup could have posted, maybe you shouldn't hit comment, and maybe you should try something else. But anyway, of course, I'd always love to know what all of you think, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!